tutorial for beginners. I'm going to be doing a little bit of cutout animation, and I'm going to be using a panel from Solo Leveling, one of my favorite webcomics that are out at the moment. And I found one from one of the latest chapters that I thought was really, really cool. It's this ant dude. And what we're going to do is I'm going to cut him out, and I'm sort of going to animate him. I'm going to have the background move a little bit around him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new comp, and this is going to be Solo Leveling AE Tutorial 01. And I'm going to make this vertical. Normally, you're going to be working in 1920 by 1080, but I think this is going to be for like a TikTok type thing. So I want it to be vertical. 24 frames per second is perfect. And so now I can drag in my panel right here, right? And I can get this to be like right here. Perfect, just like such. So now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this character. So I'm going to push G for the pen tool, or you can click up here on the panel. And if I do, I believe it's asterisk, the one that's right next to the 1 key. If you do that, it'll make it full screen. I'm just going to zoom in with middle mouse button. And I'm just going to trace our little buddy here. So what you can do is if you click and hold and drag a little bit, you can sort of get these anchor points, which are real handy. And this is a little hard to see, so I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change the color of these to be like a red, right? So now we can see it nice and bright there. And the way you do that is you push M to see the mask. That's what we're making. This is a mask. And I can double click on these colors, color box, and I can change the colors. So now going back to this, I can continue with this. And once I get him all cut out, I'll come back to you guys, okay? Okay, so now that we've got this cut out, I did the base cutout, so you can see that. So now he's all cut out there. There's a few more places that I should do. So I'm going to go into these hands. I don't want his hands to have this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting out the insides of his hands. Now, as you see, this is going to make a second mask. And when you make a second mask, it sort of just leaves it as the same. So let me do a little example here. So if I do this, you see how it adds that back in? So it's making them, they're both the same type at the moment. Let me cut both of these out. Boom, boom. Do this. Perfect. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of that full screen. And now if you come down to here, you can see that I have 3 new masks. And they're all set to the mode add. And if you don't see this, then you have to push, if you push M on the layer, you can see all your masks. So what I do is you shift click all of them, or well, the three new ones that you've added, and then I'm going to select them to be subtract. And now as you'll see, it cuts out the inside of that mask. It's like a cookie cutter. Okay, so now we have the character. Now let's get him to do some stuff, right? So we have him. I'm going to, what do I want to do to him? Maybe I could make his arms move a little bit. I'm going to cut out his head for sure, but and his antenna. But let's do his head first. So I'm going to dupe this up, and I'm going to cut out his head. I'm going to make sure I get his antenna. Just like such. All right, come down here, make sure we get his mandibles. And this is really hard for you to see because the pen tool is green right now, I'm assuming. Yeah. So if I come down here and I make it like a nice bright green, it'll be nice and visible. I can see it on my screen because it's a little bit, you know, it's right in front of me. It's like when you see, it's like when a video game is dark and you can't see it. So there we go. We got the head. Oh no, we don't want all that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide this other layer, and I'm going to I'm gonna change this to intersect. Yeah. So what intersect does is it sort of keeps it the same, but it cuts off all the extra, and that's what we want. Okay. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do another intersect, but this time it's gonna be for the head, and I'm going to duplicate this up. I'm going to do a subtract. Okay. And I'm going to grab these two layers and I'm going to pre-compose them. I'm going to say head. So now I can go into here and I've got my head. And you'll see I've got my antenna. I think that's how you spell that. And my head. So now what I want to do is I want to I'm going to take the puppet tool or the pen tool, and I'm going to sort of just put it around right here, like such. And then I'm going to change my composition. You know, I'm only going to do like 2 seconds. So I'm going to push U to load up all these keyframes, and I'm going to move them around a little bit, like such. And if you'll notice, like, sort of, like you move this and that sort of moves, and that, if that bugs you, you can separate them out, like such. So if I come here, I can, like, just cut it off. Like such. And then I can do the same for the other antenna. So I've separated out the antennas. Actually, pull this one over, this one over. Get rid of that. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to make this up a little bit like that, just so I can see the keyframes. And now I can really, let's do this one. So I'm working every 2 seconds is what I'm looking to do. So now I can do like this. And this isn't the best, but we don't need it to be best. We just need it to be itself. These are very small and they're not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. In fact, once I get to 6, I'm just going to copy all of these original layers and I'm going to paste them back in the same spot, maybe. No, maybe I'll do like here, and then for 6 I'll do like this, like that, and then let's do the other side. Make sure these are all. So if you can check your frame right here to make sure you're on the right number, and then you can shift click, like you can highlight all these and you can shift drag them to your playhead, which is this little blue thing right here. And if you do that, it'll snap to your keyframes. I want to do like this. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's a little slow, but it's fine. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get real close up in here. We don't need the antennas anymore. They're done. I'm just going to hide them for now. Let's do the same thing, but for his head. I want to kind of make his jaws do a little bit. Okay. So now I do U to see everything, and I'm going to make these a little bit faster. So they're going to be at like 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't need all these keyframes. I only need these right here because these are the only ones that are actually moving. Oh, and as you see, I did not get to the right number there, so I can just shift drag these over. And then if I copy and paste them, it duplicates them. So I want this to be a duplicated action, so it's perfectly A-OK. Yeah. So now I can do this and this, turn those on. I can go back to the main one here. And we're only going to be using 8 seconds here. So I'm going to open up composition settings, which is Control K. And I'm going to lower this down to 8 seconds, which is 800. Yeah, see, now he's got nice moving little teeth. Perfect. I think his head could use a little bit more, though. But we'll get to that in a second. So now we've got this. And so now we have all that. Now we need to cut things off of this, right? So now on this one, I'm going to come down and I'm going to just make a new mask and I'm going to cut off his antenna. And this is going to be a lot simpler. So you push M for masks, and I'm just going to say subtract. And then that's gone. Now for his face, this is where it gets a little tricky, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to chop off his arms, I think. So I'm just going to do that like such. Oh, let's make sure I don't cross any of the purple stuff. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate them up. And I'm going to grab those two masks that we just made, and I'm going to subtract them. And then I'm going to go to over here, and I'm going to have them be, oh, didn't mean to do that, intersect. Yeah, I think that's right. Maybe not. Let's just turn one on. Yeah, there we go. Duplicate that up, mask. Turn the other one on to, oh, nope, don't want that. Open up this one to add, and then turn this one off to subtract, maybe. Maybe this one should be. Oh, didn't want to open it. There we go. Then we got the arms. We got the body. So I'm going to do pre-compose arms and body. Now I'm going to go into here. This is going to be, I'm going to label these. So this is going to be body. This is going to be his, this is our right, but his left. So I'm going to call it left arm. And I'm gonna call this top one right arm. And if you click layer name right here, it changes the source name to the layer name. So if you ever lose your names, it's because of that. So now we have all that. I'm gonna turn off the arms for now because that's not what I want to do right now. I want the body, right? So now what I want to do is I'm gonna take this clone stamp tool. I'm gonna double click on the layer, and I can do. If you do Alt and then you click, it like will like cover things up just a little bit, and I believe that's not what I want. Let's do like that, yeah. And then if you ever want to change the size of it, you can come over here and you can change the brush size here in your brushes panel, because this is technically a brush. And as you see, I'm doing it on the first layer. It's very important that you do it on the first layer, because if you don't do it on the first layer, it won't go all the way. So if I start one over here, you can see that it like pops on, and that's not what you want. Okay, and that should be good enough. I don't need it to be too good. So I go back to the main comp here. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do with the head is I'm just going to make it, I'm going to look at it. And then if you see, this is my pivot point right here, but if I push Y and I drag it up, it'll make the pivot point a little bit like in the spot where I want it. And then I'm just going to scale this up a little bit. And I'm going to do P for position. And I'm going to do motion sketch. Motion sketch is one of my favorite tools. So you want to click to make sure the background is on. And then you sort of want to go to where your pivot point is, and you sort of just want to like drag a little bit. I think that should be enough. And then I grab all the keyframes, and if you grab from the end and you hold, well, you have them all, and you hold Alt, it'll do something like that. It'll drag them out. I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger, and then pull them back. And then what I'm gonna do again is if I grab all these and I do I have it out? I don't. So if you go to Window and you look for Smoother, and I'm gonna say a tolerance of like 3, it's going to smooth out these frames. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Now that's looking pretty good. Now let's go back to the arms and body. Now we have these, right? So now what I want to do here is I want to do the same thing. So I'm going to start with the right arm. I'm going to do Y for the pivot point. I'm going to move it up to the shoulder, and I'm just going to drag it in a little bit. And also the arms should go below the body. So now that I got that, I can do a nice little rotate. So R for rotate, and then I keyframe it, and I can do like just a little bit, like a 4, and then I can just loop this over and over, like such. Go to 8. Good thing. Now I'm going to do the other arm. So I'm going to do the same thing. Y for the pivot point, move it up. And then I do push V for the pointer tool. And you can also use your arrow keys just to push it in a little bit. And then I can do I can do R for rotate. And I can snap to the same spot as the other one. And I'm going to do the opposite direction, right? So it's going to be -4 instead of 4. And I'm just going to copy, paste, make sure it sticks to that. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh, that's looking pretty fierce, man. That's looking pretty fierce. Okay, now let's go to let's look at the big. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. He's looking vicious, right? So now what I want to do is I want to go into the head and I want to add something to these eyes, right? So I'm gonna do uh, I'm gonna do Control Y, and this is gonna make a new solid. And I'm gonna sort of grab like this. I'm gonna see what this looks like. I'm gonna make it a little bit more purpley, and then it makes a new solid. I'm gonna lower T for opacity, and I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna like do something like this on both eyes, like such. Okay. Now here's where the fun part comes in. So I can make that kind of thick again. I'm gonna go to the effects. Uh, First, I'm gonna save. I want to save this because also make sure you save your project always. Um, so what the effect that I'm going to be applying to this is Turbulent Displaced, and it's very strong at the moment. So I'm going to lower it down to like the amount down to like 10, and this down to like 15. And we can actually increase the complexity maybe. It might be kind of good. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, and then if we bring the amount back up, we can see like this gives us a nice little effect there. And then you're going to want to key the evolution. And then you're going to want to go to your endpoint, and I'm going to put in, I'm going to do 8. So that's going to be 8 reps per, so it's 1 rep per second. So this kind of does something like this, right? Looking pretty cool. Kind of should be more like this maybe. Yeah, it's looking good. Now I can grab another effect, which is glow, and I can toss that on that. And if you up the intensity, it'll get a little bit brighter. And if you, the threshold is like the color threshold, right? And then the radius is how much it glows. And then I'm going to do like maybe like an add. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. And one thing I want to do as well here is his head is sort of getting really muddled right here, right? So you can't really, it's really hard to see his jaw and stuff, right? So what I want to do is maybe I'm going to grab another effect, and it's going to be called a light sweep. I'm just going to place this on this, right? Oh, see, like you can already tell it's making the edges blur. And so this is a trick. This is like if you wanted text to like swoop across a screen. But what I can do is I can do like something like this, and I can make this, I can make it purple, right? Yeah, and that helps pop his head out a little bit. Um, and that's one good thing. So now overall though, I'm gonna add in an adjustment layer, and I'm gonna do another glow, and see how he just blows up like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase the threshold to be pretty high, um, and I'm just gonna do this. So like, I'm gonna duplicate this over so it's like a loop. And then if we look at this, he's like glowing now, right? It's looking pretty cool. Now for a background, let's go back to the same panel. Let's see if there's any good shots in here. That'd be a good panel for a background. Oh, maybe, I mean, we could use the same one. So let's do the same one actually. Um, so I'm gonna make it much larger, and I'm gonna actually do like this, so that way he's not in the shot anymore. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a P for position, and then I'm just gonna have it lower down like that, right? And maybe we bug Ant-Man. So that way he doesn't affect, his glow won't affect what's behind him. That's looking pretty good. Maybe there should be some type of in-between between them. So I'm going to add in a new adjustment layer. I'm going to do a gauze. I'm just going to blur it a little bit. And you make sure you want to repeat the edge pixels, because if you don't, it'll kind of like get it'll just mess it up. That's looking pretty cool. Let's get this bigger. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool for such a simple little animation. Okay. And I think that's going to be it for this. I'm going to have this animation playing and looped in the video. Let me know if you guys have any more questions about how to do cutout animations, or you're trying to get started with After Effects. I know I kind of glossed over a lot of stuff in this, but let me know. So I'm going to save, and now, you know what, maybe I'll show you guys how to render a little bit. So we've got this. I've loaded up my render queue. You always want to make sure that your render queue is in the same layer as your composition screen, because if you have your composition screen up, it's going to load that. So I'm going to render this, and I'm going to say I don't need audio. I want it to be a QuickTime. You can change the format too. I recommend, you know, maybe like an Apple ProRes is always pretty good. And then I'm just going to choose a nice little spot to put this right here. And I'm going to render. Okay. Well, that's been it for this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below in the comments. I'm going to be doing more After Effects tutorials for you guys. So let me know what you guys think, and what you guys would like to see next. I'll do any After Effects, like if there's any specific images you guys want me to do some After Effects on, let me know and I'll do it. I'm going to try and grab some images from some of my friends who are designers to, you know, maybe animate some of their little drawings, which would be kind of cool. But I'll catch you guys in the next video.